There's a silence we hold between us, and I know it's because of me. And you echo with your indifference, but I think I know you better than that. I owe you apologies, and I'm missing synchronicity. So if you can make peace with me, we can take it from there. 'Cause that night you brought you to me, and the dawnlight is way pretty, and we try count the city stars, just to realize how small we are. Do you know what you did to me, as you walk down the steps to leave? Get your fingers wrapped brush my sleeve, and I lose my breath instantly. Yes, yeah.
In these dark times of dirty nightmares, you must ask yourself, have I got soul? Have I got soap? Well now, you can get both with Psyche Soap. In this one place, there is a live show where we have fun, where we can let loose and speak the red pill and black pill truth. Where are we? Why, we're in the bucket with Psyche Soap. Do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do. In the bucket with Soul Soap and Psyche Soap. Same guy. Do-do-do-do-do-do.
in the face. Do-do-do. Spinning side kick. Do-do-do. Kick him in the nads. Do-do-do. Write a strongly worded letter. Do-do-do. It's sucky soap in the bucket. Party time. Excellent. Shit. Hey, y'all. It is I, the Mighty Soap, and you've not seen nothing like the Mighty Soap. And hey there, red pilled and black pilled brothers. Yes, Shinobi Wan did the intro. He's here in the building. Woo! What up, Mile High? What's happening, Indie Mig Tide? Yeah, we gonna start the show with Psychic Soap. I'm in the bucket where we have the fun and let loose, speak the red pill and even the black pill truth. This episode might offend even some of my ardent supporters and friends, but as promised, I don't give a fuck. Why do I choose to stop caring? Is because I can, stupid. Hey, for all my brothers, check to see if you're still subscribed to me and that your notifications are on all, damn it. Because I usually upload the playback on BitChute, Odyssey, MGTOW.tv, audio only version on Anchor, Spotify, and all of those other sites. Do not give an inch to the gynocracy! We must bring the ruckus to all those motherfuckers. Uncle fuckers too. I don't give a shit. We do not discriminate here. I'm an equal opportunity destroyer, especially if you're looking for equality of outcomes. What the fuck? Oh boy. Well, it's been quite a, week. I'm in my new job. I've been there for about a month, and I'm like, oh man, they change leaders like I change socks. God damn. All right. Do not give an inch to the gynocracy, fellas, because if you do that, they'll take a trip cross country. Oh, you gynocrats are making me sick right now. Not all. Hashtag not all. Whoops. Psyche Soap can't say that because it's hate speech. Wah. Weenies, man. In my lifetime, don't mean to get into a generational debate. I'm a Gen Xer. Fuck this shit. But I was at least lucky to see a colorblind meritocracy. Much like the one old MLK Jr. envisioned. But no, you guys want to divide. You want to conquer. You want to hate on men. But I won't let you do it. You do not get off that fucking easy. All right. And they got all of this shit going on, the inflation and oil prices and pain at the pump. Yeah, by the way, where I'm at is 410 in gas. Shout your gas prices in the chat. I'll put them up. We'll talk about it. And then there's this two fucked up things happening in Buffalo. One, they're both distraction issues, by the way. That's the one thing they both have in common. There's that Buffalo shooting where the guy goes into that top store and just blows his top. And then there's the one where Freddie Gibbs gets his ass beat by Benny the Butcher's entourage. Allegedly. Also happening in Buffalo. But down in Virginia, there's the Johnny Depp Amber Heard shit. And I thought the Rittenhouse trial was the trial of the century, but this Johnny Depp and Amber Heard shit, maybe, just maybe, it plants some seeds into the heads of the normies to let them know that, look, man, men aren't always the perpetrators of domestic violence. All right. Women can be too. All right. No matter how y'all try to blur the lines and say that, we're human beings, before you can ever get into that egalitarian utopia that you've been hoping for, Captain Leftist, you got to at least be blind to the bullshit that's happening, you know, outside of this. I mean, do do wish for equal protection under the law. Do wish for equality of opportunity and not equality of outcomes, because you're not entitled to that outcome. You have to work toward that outcome. All right. And these weenies, man, ugh, makes me want to drink. You know what I'm saying? I got my drink right here. Excuse me. All right. David Smith say, so it's 414 where you're at. 456 in premium. All right. And premium was down 30 cents since last week. I don't know if you're in I don't know if you're in in America, but yeah, it's about that much. Places like Peru, Sri Lanka, and what else? What was that other one? Kazakhstan. Same thing, but they hit the double digits. Oh shit! All right. Oh fucking Bob, man. Bob, there is no rivalry at all. You remind me of that dude in South Park. Stand Darsh. Stan doesn't even care right now. Oh shit, I'm shadow banned as for me. All right. So okay, so that reading was from Colorado. Um Shinobi Wan is over in, okay, let's see here. So $3, very close to $3. It's $2.96 a liter. $2.96 a liter. 4 liters is 1 gallon, about 1 gallon roughly. So it would be $12 a gallon in New Zealand? What the And Polska Bob says, he knows what I did last summer. I don't know what the fuck happened there, Polska. I don't know. I don't know what. Anyway, my Ronan say, hey, yeah, he's seen $4 a gallon. But here's the thing. Here's the rub. This is not our first time seeing this. This happened toward around 2006, 2007 ish, 2008 ish, you know. Um, thank you, Bob, for coming through. Uh, you still got a little daylight left to mow the lawn, I guess. It's a good time to. Usually, the summertime is on its way, and there's the mowing of the lawns and keeping, Oh shit! Here come the train. Come on, right there, train. Take a drink while this train goes by. Yes. We are living on the wrong side of the tracks. Take a walk on the wild side. Do 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 do. Hope y'all liked the last show last week with Chattles and I. We're trying to work out a next Friday show together because It's his birthday, you know. So there that is. Um, let's see here. David Smith say it took me years to get used to the train by where you live. Well, yeah. I mean, the train by where I live is a good 100 steps. Like, I'd say a good 50 yards or 2 meters from where I am. I don't know. Shit. But it's close. You know, it's less than a third of a city block, meaning it is right next door. Yeah, pretty much next door to me. You know, that's why it's easy for some folks to hear when the train does get by here. Um, guys, this the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, Amber Turd as we'd like to call her. And you know what? Why in the fuck is this bitch still sitting with a fucking Aquaman 2 contract? Okay, go ahead. Work that Aquaman movie, but you know who you gonna be owing right after this shit. Now, I mean, in the past, I was a Johnny Depp fan. Even had him in my greatest actors list. But, you know, on the really, he may have been originally from Kentucky, but he is all the way Hollywood. All right. All the way fucking Hollywood and shit. And so I'm not that big of a fan of him these days. The trial, though, you know, it's really bigger than him, as you guys know. Most of you are going your own way, saving yourself, and all of that good shit. And some of you, and you all get it. I'm already saying what we've already been thinking for the whole time. I mean, you're watching Pound Me Too. You're watching that shit die on the vine, pretty much. You know, there's no point in having this shit. You know, at this point, even the normies are starting to realize that shit. The classic scenario where there's male on female, violence is, pretty out of, it's pretty out of whack. It's really stupid, or really, it's a dubious claim to say that men are always the perpetrators of domestic violence. Nowadays, it's the other way around. Really. Mm-mm-mm. And Amber Turd reminds me of my child's mom. That cluster B shit, the fucking borderline personality disorder shit going on. Now, I don't pretend to be a fucking psychologist or a psychiatrist or anything like that. Didn't even study in the field, but she's one of them, one of those fair weather lesbians. It only goes straight when there's a rich man around. Mm, shit. What's up here? Oh, Post Kebab say he lives half a mile from the airport in a huge train depot. Been hearing planes and trains since '86. Um, if that's Chicago, shit, that would be hell. If you live by Midway or motherfucking O'Hare, it's yeah, yeah. I lived in that area for some time anyway, and yeah, to be by that, that's one of the 10 busiest airports in the world. O'Hare for certain. But yeah, man, yeah. The airport is like a half a mile away from where I work. Anywho, Craig Furness say because her lips are super soft, hence Aquaman contract. Oh shit. Yeah, pretty much. It's well, she better work that movie. Everybody want to play like a man, but can't pay like a man. And pretty soon she'll be a glaring example of that. I mean, she's suing him for 100 million. He's suing her for 50 million. I mean, this. I guess he's basing it on the money he could have been making, and based on their what is that called? Fuck. Um, well, Johnny Depp said it that way, basically because he had gotten taken off a lot of movies. You know, the Fantastic Beast saga, the he was taking off Pirates of the Caribbean, which I don't understand why that movie's even still fucking going on, but he's pretty much putting it up that way. All right. And the fucking that with that knowing that Turd wants to sue him for double that, out of spite. It's just like a person her type, you know. Just like a woman. Yeah. Shit. And I'm like, oh fuck. I tuned into the trial here and there. I mean, I take the graveyard shift, so when I do come home, it's when the trial starts, and it interferes with my sleep and all of that good shit. But I take the time out to watch the trial a little bit. But it's been on the part where she was being cross-examined, and word on the street is that she gotten called on her bullshit more than once while she was on the stand, which is a great thing. It's a great thing. And Depp was acting like the more or less the nice one and stuff like that. Even his exes are like, no, he's never did any of the sort, you know. Whereas Turd here, Amber Turd, is trying to make it to sound as though he is this monster. Her words, not mine. And all this other stupid shit. Man, quite frankly, I am extra tired of that trial. Can't wait till that shit is over so we can see what's going on. But I wouldn't hold out too much hope as to what the verdict would be. I mean, if Depp loses this, it goes to show you what we've all been knowing this whole time. Red pillars and MGTOWs and all that good shit. You already know what this is. It's a reinforcement of what it's always been, and that's the gynocracy. Now, if Johnny Depp wins, well, it'll end up being an anomaly. It'll end up being an anomaly. You know, go on about your business and have a little fun. You know. Um, then we got a few other little stories here. Let me get into the comments again. Yep, Friday and all that shit. Oh, okay. So you do live by Midway, Bob. Okay, great. All right. Now, there's some news that it broke not that long ago, and I'll show you a little bit on that. So we'll go to it. Where you go? Do do do. Psyche soap's gotta find the area. Do do do. Do do do. Gotta find the news. Here we go. COOF restrictions for migrants at the U.S. border cannot end yet, judge rules. Okay. So, a federal judge in Louisiana on Friday, I guess just now, blocked U.S. authorities from lifting COOF restrictions that empower agents at the U.S. Mexico border to turn back migrants without giving them a chance to seek asylum. Well, A nationwide injunction issued by U.S. District Judge Robert Summerhays means the restrictions, which were set to end on May 23rd, and that's 3 days from this recording, or 3 days from this live, will remain in place across the border as litigation proceeds, absent any appeal by the U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ. The pandemic restrictions, known as Title 42, were put in place in March 2020 during the administration of former Republican President Donald Trump, an immigration hardliner. Ugh, Reuters. Health authorities at the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, said that at the time it was needed to curb the spread of the Roni in crowded border facilities. Since then, more than 1 million migrants apprehended at the border could have been rapidly expelled to Mexico or other countries under the order, often within hours of being caught. Let me see. Bring that here. And there we go. Yeah, for those to see that are watching. Since then, more than 1 million migrants apprehended at the border have been rapidly expelled to Mexico or other countries under the order within hours of being caught. The ruling comes amid criticism of Democratic President Joe Biden's decision to lift Title 42, from Republicans and some members of his own party, who raised concerns that ending the expulsions would push a record number of migrant crossings even higher. Judge Summerhays, a Trump appointee, said keeping the Title 42 order in place would serve the public interest and that a nationwide injunction is necessary given the ability of migrants crossing the border to move freely from one state to another. Now, this is kind of a doozy because here, Psyche Soap, as you do see it, as you now know it, and okay, and I'll take a brief time to tell you guys, if you are on Odyssey, thank you. You you're more than welcome to keep talking in the live chat over there. I see a couple of you there. But back to this story here, man. And how you doing, Hemi? Uh this is some bullshit, man. Um the Roni is over. The Roni is over. You know, as the truth is coming out, some of the shit that you used to be banned for even saying is, you know, it's starting to become mainstream now. You know what I mean? It is. It fucking is. I mean, I'm of the mind that that shit was a bioweapon because what I've noticed, and I'd say the holidays of 2020, just before the outbreak was announced, there was a trade war, and Trump and Xi were going at it. You know, the president over there in China, him and Xi were going at the possibility of a trade war. And this was before any mention of a COVID thing. You know, this was before any mention of the Roni. You know what I'm saying? And then this shit happens in the springtime, like most every fucking thing is, right? You want a mass shooting on the news cycle? Let's do this shit between March and May, shall we? And this shit has been going on long before Trump got into office or the state of things they are. It's just that this same fucking old routine is getting fucking old, man. I mean, in the springtime, okay? For as long as I can remember, all the way back to Waco, thing. That shit held people up during the springtime. Then you had the Oklahoma City thing. That held up people during the springtime. Then you had the Columbine thing. That held up people during the fucking springtime. And fast forward to today, well, close to today, you had the Iraq War kicking off, which not too many people wanted. That kicked off in the spring. And then you got this bullshit in Buffalo. This kicks off in the spring. Oh my God, I'm getting tired of this shit. Uh, it, I mean, is winter depression that fucked up for y'all? I mean, what happened to where's a party? You know what I'm saying? What happened to, I'm gonna go take a trip or clean my house. Spring cleaning? Remember that shit? God damn. Not the time to be writing up fucking manifestos and doing stupid shit. Man. Speaking of writing up manifestos and doing stupid shit, let's get us. Oh gosh. But we were talking about the coof, all right? So we're gonna get on that shit. Um, where are we going with this? We'll go with this. We'll go with this shit.
And vaccine shaming came down with COVID twice in the span of 3 weeks. Colbert first announced he had COVID on April 21st with this tweet. Yep, I tested positive for COVID, but basically I'm feeling fine. Grateful to be vaxxed and boosted.
For now. Yeah. Okay, Steven. Tell it on the mountain, boy.
Thank you for the well wishes. Colbert took about 10 days off to recover from the virus, which he later described as a serious head cold. He took the Pfizer treatment drug Paxlovid, then said he tested negative on day 6 of his isolation. He was back in the studio taping shows on May 2nd. But then, a week later, on May 9th, production was halted again until further notice because Stephen had what's been called a recurrence of COVID. Now, last Monday, The Late Show tweeted out, Stephen is experiencing symptoms consistent with the recurrence of COVID. Out of an abundance of caution for his staff, guests, and audience, he will be isolating for a few additional days. The Late Show will not be taping new episodes until further notice.
Good riddance. Worst sequel ever. No, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then guess what? Yeah, you got something waiting for you after your vaccination and your motherfucking boosters. And I'm on YouTube, so you know what I can't say. We'll keep it going.
Colbert called it the worst sequel ever, I bet. Well, maybe you've heard about these recurrences lately. They're considered extremely rare, but we've heard that phrase before.
Extremely rare, my ass.
Turns out the treatment drug Paxlovid, which is made by Pfizer.
Man, that sounds like Paxil. Hey, wait a minute. Pfizer ain't slick. I mean, one end, what the fuck? You call it Paxlovid? That sounds like a cross between Paxil and COVID. Like, what the fuck? So you just want to drive motherfuckers crazy. Oh, boy.
Has a problem. Paxlovid is the early treatment that was given emergency use authorization back in December after clinical trials showed it reduced severe COVID outcomes by 89% in unvaccinated adults. It's a 5-day treatment of 3 pills taken twice a day for 5 days at the earliest onset of symptoms. It doesn't work if you take it too late. You reportedly have to take it early. The treatment is a combination of 2 different medications. One drug is a new inhibitor that prevents the virus from replicating, and the other is a repurposed HIV drug, ritonavir, which is used to boost the efficacy of the inhibitor drug.
Ooh. So that means you getting AIDS, huh? Hmm. Oh boy. Yeah, man. Yeah. 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 All right. All right, Maha. Okay, I got it. I got it. All right, back to this shit. Oh, boy.
For HIV, ritonavir combined with the HIV specific inhibitor doesn't get rid of the virus. We know this. HIV hasn't been cured yet. What it does is turn the HIV cells dormant to the point where they're undetectable. But if you stop taking your HIV medication, the dormant cells will wake up and begin making copies of themselves again. Now, of course, HIV is a different virus. It doesn't go away on its own like COVID eventually does. But a good number of people taking Paxlovid seem to be experiencing a rebound of the virus after it gets to the point of being undetectable. However, the scientists and the doctors say they don't know why this is happening. According to the Wall Street Journal, the health experts say they aren't sure if the relapsed patients are contagious, nor are they sure what causes the rebounds. They say maybe patients are taking Paxlovid too early or not long enough. The experts also don't know how common the rebounds are. Pfizer says its real world data indicates the relapses occur in fewer than 1 in 3,000 patients. But again, we've heard this phrase throughout the pandemic that something is extremely rare, like getting the virus after being vaccinated or having a case of myocarditis. And it turns out these events are more common than they first appear. So my guess is people get the virus, they go to the doctor to get Paxlovid, they get sick a little while later and suffer through it privately without reporting it to the officials, like most people who caught the virus. So it's impossible for them to know how many people are truly having these relapses. But they are. And more importantly, Pfizer, the manufacturer, doesn't know why. Could it be that they're
Or doesn't give a fuck?
prescribing Paxlovid to vaccinated and boosted adults when the clinical trials were only conducted on the unvaccinated? It's possible. They don't know why it's happening. And that's sort of been the theme throughout this pandemic. There's a lot of unknowns when it comes to the vaccines and the treatments, yet if anyone raised questions, they were shamed by people like Stephen Colbert, who was once again COVID-free and back to work, by the way. Now, how many of us were shamed and accused of being anti-science for saying the vaccines don't stop the spread? Believe it or not, people are still being mandated by their employers to get the vaccine. Schools are still requiring boosters for college students. And yet, day after day, more and more fully vaccinated, even quadruple dosed, like Stephen Colbert, are falling ill with COVID.
And AIDS.
Of course, rather than admit they were wrong and that they forced us into taking a vaccine under the false pretense that it would end the pandemic, the new phrase is, but thank God for the vax because it could be so much worse.
Okay, so you say.
Though this may be true for many high risk older folks whose lives have been saved by the vaccine, there is no statistical evidence for younger low risk cohorts that this is true, yet everyone keeps saying it. Just recently, Johnson & Johnson was limited due to the possibility of fatal blood clotting. Those blood clots happened in women in their 30s and 40s who were otherwise at no real risk of severe COVID outcomes. Many of us knew about these risks and have been discussing them for over a year.
What the blood clot? It's the clot shot.
Of us women in this age group opted to avoid the Johnson & Johnson vaccine for this reason and were called anti-science, anti-vaxxers. Yet here we are a year later and the government finally agrees with us. Well, what will they agree with us in another year's time? That's the big question. Now, one thing to note, Robbie and Bree, is that Paxlovid, the clinical trials were conducted. They were conducted only on the unvaccinated people. They then started giving it out to vaccinated people without any sort of clinical data on this whatsoever. So we don't actually know, they're now collecting that real world data, which is what they're saying. They're saying, well, we're now trying to find out how many people does this not totally work on, and what's causing this problem? We don't know. That's and that I think is bothersome to so many of us, that they push these drugs out there. They say, well, we're learning on the go. It's an emergency, so we have to. Fine, fair enough. But why did the FDA just the other day, for example, refuse to authorize fluvoxamine for emergency use authorization, citing lack of data, when they had that same problem with Paxlovid? What is it about Paxlovid? Besides the obvious, I think that there's just a lot of money to be made with Paxlovid versus fluvoxamine. Why is it that, we're still going through this rigmarole with the FDA with, and then, they're demonizing drugs like fluvoxamine, where many doctors that are using it saying, this is actually working. Some people can't take Paxlovid. They say Paxlovid's our first choice, but some people can't take it. It interferes with their drugs. They need something else. Here's another alternative. Maybe it's not great. It's not the best, but 30% reduction is better than no reduction, right? So, we're still kind of going through this learning as we go, yet the people that question are still being called anti-science, deniers, and that they just need, and everybody just needs to, still get in line and shape up and stop being such terrible human beings.
Don't be a weenie. Don't be a weenie. Take our vaccine. Oh boy, I'm so fucking tired of even talking about that shit. Oh man. Here's more. But wait. Oh my gosh. It's fucking stupid. Yeah, well, here's a guy I don't agree with very often that is starting to make sense.
Vaccines are good for you, and that's all there is to it. And there's scarcely ever any kind of mad balls ups down the lab to cause you to go into abstract horror. Ah! Hello there, you 5.6 million awakening wonders. I'm so glad to be on this journey with you. Through your comments below, our inquiry, we've got a wonderful team here. We're beginning to understand reality a little better. We're beginning to see how narratives shift over time, particularly around complex subjects like the pandemic and the vaccines around it. As you know, if you're a regular viewer of our channel, this is a weird thing. I don't have their opinions on the pandemic. It's almost like I'm trying to avoid being kicked off of the platform or something. I don't know. Anyway, there's an interesting story in the New York Times about stuff that went on down the lab. If you're not a subscriber yet, subscribe right now. And please wait for the end and sign up to my mailing list because I've got a very important announcement. Okay, let's get into this story. This is from the New York Times, all right? We're out of the mainstream media. This is not, oh, look, me and Alex Jones met in a grove dressed as owls. New York Times, so send your lawyers that way. Emergent Biosolutions, a long-time government contractor hired to produce hundreds of millions of coronavirus vaccine doses, hid evidence of quality control problems from Food and Drug Administration inspectors in February 2021. Right, how's the quality control going? Badly. Right, well, hide that because there's some inspectors coming in a minute. Last thing we want them doing is discovering how bad the quality is. Is there any ethical reason why we shouldn't hide this evidence? Ethical reasons. That
right there is proof that crony capitalism does fucking exist. Oh my fuck. Keep going.
Happened in February 21, 6 weeks before it alerted federal officials that 15 million doses had been contaminated. It's only 15 million doses. It's only contaminated. It's only a pandemic. It's only coronavirus. Where if you dare to say, oh, I'm not sure about vaccines. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? I don't know. What if they get contaminated down the lab and people hid evidence of that? Oh. Now, I'm still not saying don't take vaccines or that the vaccine didn't have a positive impact. Here are some things that I do understand, though. The systems that were in place prior to this pandemic of centralized government control, sovereign power, corporate power, the relationships between those sets of power, media bias, the way that the media operates at the behest of corporate and government power, likely created conditions where transparency and ethical, supremacy or transparency are bloody difficult to even imagine.
Yeah, you're seeing that in plain view now. Aren't you, normies? Were those that are under the True Blood, and a big shout to Brandon Trueblood. Those are the pure-blooded persuasion that have never taken the fucking poke ever since the shit started. Are they correct, or are they still, anti-science people? Now, I graduated with a science degree. I'm what you would consider agnostic. I'm not religious. No. I do, respect those that do hold their, spiritual beliefs and religion in high regard because it is a good moral compass. But even I, at my, with my beliefs or lack thereof in this case, I know that this is some stupid shit. Anyway, and yo, the science is barely even fucking there. It's one big goddamn experiment. Excuse my French. Because I can speak it very fluently. All right, back to this shit.
The pre-existing systems are corrupt. And I don't even mean corrupt in a kind of way. I mean corrupt as in warped, broken, directed badly. And this is just one example of what happens when at scale you entrust the manufacture of a medical product to a profit-making enterprise. Well, what other enterprise could there be?
Yeah, that's right. There's many others that could have had the same bullshit befall them as Pfizer. Now there's 4 that you got to watch for. There's AstraZeneca, there's Johnson and Johnson, there's Moderna, and in this case Pfizer, the biggest one. All right. Yeah, you're right, Smith. Normies see, but they hate that they are wrong, so they double down out of spite, much like Amber Heard. Oh fuck, man. Ugh, I'm getting tired of these normies, man.
Is it working for you?
And I'm getting tired of these crony capitalists. It's not the I'm not anti-business by any stretch of the imagination, but those that rely on their little security blanket called bureaucracy need to go and eat a dick. All right, back to this shit.
Disclosure came in a report released Tuesday by House Democrats who said that all told, nearly 400 million doses of coronavirus vaccine manufactured by Emergent had to be destroyed due to poor quality control. The quality of this, it's not good. And even the quality control ain't been great. No contaminated doses were ever released to the public.
Bullshit!
And you can take that to the bank because we're dealing with guys who we know for a fact are like transparent and reliable and give you information on time and encourage dissent and healthy debate and opposing views. So when they tell you something like no contaminated doses were ever released to the public, if any thoughts occur to you there's something wrong with you. The report is the product of an investigation that began last year after the New York Times documented months of problems at Emergent's troubled Bayview plant in Baltimore. Troubled? 400 million doses. Trouble, oh, trouble. Where should we get these 400 million doses of the coronavirus vaccine produced? I know a troubled place in Baltimore. They'll do a good job.
Sounds like a good idea. Oh, fuck.
Based on internal company emails, documents, and interviews, it sheds fresh light on Emergent executives' own concerns about quality control deficiencies. They ignored their own concerns. This ain't right, is it? Are we doing a good enough job? These doses were squandered, despite repeated warnings from employees. Warning you! I'm warning you! Outside consultants, pharmaceutical companies, and FDA regulators that the company's manufacturing practices were unsafe. Imagine that if that was at your work. Hey, be careful with that hammer. Why? Well, these consultants think it's a bad idea. What do they know? Well, what about your fellow employees? What do they know? What about the FDA? Well, they're funded by... Ow, my bloody... Why didn't someone warn me? Representative James E. Clyburn, Democrat of South Carolina and the chairman of the House Subcommittee on the Pandemic, said in a statement, as the federal government scrambled to secure vaccine manufacturing capacity during the early days of the pandemic, it entrusted Emergent with a mammoth task, producing both Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca vaccines at its Baltimore facility. Why don't we let the troubled Baltimore facility do 2 sets of vaccines? Yeah, that'll help solve their troubles. The company's stock price soared.
Yeah, why don't we? Like, what the fuck, man? Like, ugh. And you see why there's, in a way, a great resignation, when people are quitting their jobs in droves. This does happen, though, when the nation's out of full employment. Um, the rate to know that, that is 5%. For Americans, it's 5%. If the unemployment rate is under 5%, then and only then will you know that there will be a lot of people's mixing and matching, quitting jobs and shit. And what I've noticed also are, boomers that don't know shit or millennials that don't know shit running these companies and are in middle management roles. And they're bumping their heads. Live and you learn. I get it. But some of them are just, not good leaders. The boomers, of course, is because, yeah, they've been in the game a little too long. And what they think that always worked, the tried and true, doesn't work anymore. You're in a whole new time out here. And for those, younger millennials and shit like that, what they don't get is that, it's their first time. They're gonna bump their heads a few times. It's very different from what from what those normie ass boomers were telling you. Yeah, really. And so they bump their head a few times and make a mistake or two. And I get that. But let's get back into this shit.
On the announcement of a $628 million federal contract. It's a tale as old as time in many ways. A troubled Baltimore manufacturing company take on two mammoth contracts from AstraZeneca and from Johnson & Johnson. What could be their motivation? When they're so troubled and that, you think, no, the heft of this task may be too much for us. Will your stock prices go up as a result of that? Yeah, probably about $628 million. But we don't care about stuff like that here at the troubled Baltimore. Wait a minute, that's the whole reason we exist. Emergent is a long-time government contractor that has spent much of the last 2 decades cornering a lucrative market in federal spending on biodefense. In May 2020, the Trump administration turned to Emergent to produce coronavirus vaccines through Operation Warp Speed.
Don't you forget it. Don't you forget it. Just because you're a Trumper, you're not safe. And that could be how Trump loses that damn primary. If he runs again, a lot of us have not forgotten Operation Warp Speed because he was quick to jump in front of it. When the pandemic happened, he was quick to jump in front of the fact that he was responsible for the vaccine coming out. and that was some of the, before election, this was what he was, or during the election trail, in 2020, he was always saying that he was credited with getting the vaccine started. I bet you he regrets that shit now. And y'all will forgive him because he's Trump. I know. I mean, there were some good things about the man, but this right here was his downfall. And as with many presidents, they all have some sort of a downfall, one or another. Oh, Twitter stock just went up 2%, 2.6% to be exact. I think the markets are closed up here in America. Let me get back on this.
Speed. Probably a bit too warped and a bit too speedy. In April 2020, a month before the Warp Speed Agreement was finalised, FDA inspectors identified problems with quality control at the Baltimore plant, including that separate or defined areas to prevent contamination or mix-up are deficient, according to the House report. This really helps put to bed those troubling and unsubstantiated rumours that the coronavirus could have emerged from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, because after all, laboratories are scientific places where nothing could go wrong. The idea that there's no such thing as human error in a laboratory environment is very naive, and I think is just one of the ways that the orthodoxy of scientific dogma supports itself. Science is, of course, magnificent, marvellous, brings about innovation and perfectly fantastic medicines.
And I agree.
But what this story shows you is that the Wuhan lab leak theory is completely plausible, because you're talking about human beings. Human beings make mistakes. The best we can do is have transparency, honesty, the opportunity for redemption, ongoing conversation and inquiry, and remove incentives that might make you want to hide evidence because you're so demented in the pursuit of profit that you forgot what your bloody job is. Confidential audits last year showed that Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca, as well as the division of the Department of Health and Human Services that oversaw Emergent's contract.
And the Department of Health and Human Services is welfare. Don't forget it. Keep going.
all found deficiencies in the summer of 2020. That June, the month after the agreement with Warp Speed was signed, a top pandemic preparedness official warned that relying on the Baltimore plant would present key risks and that the site would have to be monitored closely. Of course, it indicates that there's a problem at this particular plant at this particular time under those particular stresses. But what I'd like to draw your attention to is that simultaneously, during that time, conversations around vaccine concern were being shut down. Like every talk show on American TV, oh, the vaccine hesitant, those morons, okay, yeah, all of that stuff. Remember, while that was happening, 400 million doses were being destroyed. I hope that none of those vaccines made it into the marketplace. I hope. Internal emails of
It did. Come on. I mean, let's be reasonable here.
obtained by the House investigators show that Emergent executives were deeply concerned about those findings. The executives, oh God, bloody hell, what should we do? Is this right? I mean, I love it here at Emergent, and our troubled plant, that's my most favorite plant because it's troubled. You know, it's got a sparkle in its eye. Sure, it's not very good at manufacturing vaccines. Oh, that's pretty important, sir. Ah, shut up! I'm already concerned! Sean Kirk, who ran the company's manufacturing operations, wrote in a June 2020 email that he'd alerted other senior executives for a few years about problems at the plant. They respond very quickly. I mean, one of the troubles down at the Baltimore plant is everyone's too slow to respond to key information. Like, it's not Jane Austen days. Dear sir, I'm writing about the concerns at the Baltimore plant. For example, people are not washing their hands. I saw one fella put his finger up his bum while making a vaccine. Oh, what's the letter?
Hey, you know what? That don't sound too far-fetched. Just ram that finger up the bum and then without washing hands or putting on gloves. No, you did it with your gloved hand. So, you know what I'm saying? At least you had a condom of some sort. Oh, gross. And then fucked up the fucking jab. Keep going, man.
Come through. I'll check that in a couple of years. Furthermore, I wonder if you'd be interested in a device called electronic mail or email invented by a lovely fella, I think what's called the name of Bill Gates. In another email, which he wrote to Robert Kramer, the company's chief executive, Mr. Kirk, said, of all the things we have to deliver on Operation Warp Speed, the thing that keeps me up at night is overall perception of state of quality systems at Bayview. Oh, I can't even get to sleep. Oh, Mr. Kirk, he's a troubled individual. Sir, I'm writing to urgently remind you that things at Bayview are not going well. And please invest in email. Mr. Kirk has since left Emergent. It is with a heavy heart that I tender my resignation. I'm sick and tired of the troubled plant at Baltimore and the fact that you've ignored my last 2 years' worth of letters. Outwardly, though, the company maintained it was ready. 400 million doses didn't work. The FDA ain't happy. The employees aren't happy. Consultants aren't happy. Poor old Mr. Kirk's writing letter after letter by candlelight till he eventually resigns. How's things going, guys? We're ready. We're ready to go, boss. When can we make the vaccines? First, wash your hands. It's one of the main messages. But by the fall, the House report shows Emergent's own concerns about quality were mounting in advance of a visit to the plant by FDA officials. Now, team, we've got FDA officials. Take your finger out of your nose. Now, the FDA are coming. I want everyone on their best behavior. Sir, what does FDA stand for? Shut up. I've told you 100 times. What are these goddamn letters, for Christ's sake? Ugh. Before the inspectors arrived that September, a senior quality director warned executives that it would be critical to convince the agency that rapid improvements were underway. The director wrote that the company was not in full compliance yet, but added, we are making batches now. In November 2020, one outside consultant to Emergent laid out the stakes in stark terms, noting the firm was deviating from current good manufacturing practices, or CGMP. This place is like 40 towers. Who's running this plant? Ultimately, Emergent will have to decide what level of risk they're willing to accept. Well, not much. It's like a vaccine in a pandemic. I learned my vaccine making on the streets, dog. I like to play wild. I don't go by the normal rules. Well, you do have to go by the rules. You have to go by the good manufacturing practices. Pfft, you squares. I make my vaccines Gangnam style. But this is one of those...
What the fuck? You gotta try that. Try my vaccine. It's hot fire. Shit, latest vaccine that came out on the streets. Have you gotten that yet? You know, I got this new AstraZeneca shit, dog, and this shit is the bomb. And then all of a sudden, he just drops on the floor, shaking violently, and you don't know why, but except for the simple fact that it came from the damn vaccine. Keep going.
This is one of those where you really better listen to me. They're actually on the edge now. Look, where you really better listen to me and do exactly what I tell you to. They should not be making vaccines down that Baltimore plot. They shouldn't be making Diet Coke, should they? They should be making anything that goes in anyone's mouth or body. The consoler, I'm stating very loudly. It's actually trying to shout in a letter. I'm stating very loudly that this work is non-CGMP compliant and a direct regulatory risk. Now, right, so someone had a government contract from your government. That means your money, you were paying for all this, was being told by external consultants. And it sounds terrified, this geezer. If you've got a letter like that from your kid's school, the next thing is your kid ain't coming out of school no more, innit? Or if you're from your boss, get out, you're fired. These was doing this to manufacturers of vaccines at a time where people are like, I'm worried. What if them vaccines, we don't know, isn't it not been out long enough? How do we trust the people at that, particularly that trouble plant in Baltimore? I can hear, listen, they're playing music. Who let the dogs out? Oh, come on, should they be listening to that one? Who let the dogs out? Now, they're good guys down there. They're mavericks. They're maverick vaccine makers. During the September visit, the agency noted deficiencies. You bet. When officials returned in February 2021, emergent employees sought to hide potential problems, according to the House report. Shoving stuff down the back of cabinets and that. Right, how's everything going here at the Baltimore Park? Oh, yeah, it's great. And what's that down the back of that cabinet? They're treating like this inspection from the FDA like your mum's told you to tidy your bedroom. Previously, Emergent had placed yellow tags on containers holding part of a batch of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine that was suspected to have quality problems.
Like that's gonna fucking do anything. That ain't gonna do shit. Oh no, that ain't doing a damn thing. You know what I'm saying? What if that motherfucker skipped a few, 1, 2, skip a few, 99, 100. Don't even put tags on those batches or anything, but they still get the fuck out. Now you got a motherfucking Stephen Colbert. Let's tie this up into a little bow. Now you got Stephen Colbert on his bullshit and trying to, oh my gosh. I don't know.
There's quality problems here. Get the old yellow label on it. Old yellow. That's the way we keep things safe here down in Baltimore. Where employees remove tags.
Wow.
They removed the tags shortly before the FDA visit and put them back on after the agency officials had left. That is a sitcom plot. Boss, what should we do with these vaccines that there was quality control problems? Should we throw them out into the bin? Don't be ridiculous. Put a yellow label on them. But what about when the FDA inspectors come? Take the yellow labels off. And what about after that? Put the labels back on. What if it got mixed up? Quiet you. Who's running this laboratory? The Three Stooges. Senior managers and an executive vice president of the company were aware of those actions, the House report found. Went right up to the boardroom. We're going to do this yellow label plan. That sounds good. Okay. What is the plan? We put yellow labels on the bad batch instead of throwing them away. Go on. And then when the FDA inspectors come, we take the yellow labels off. That way they don't know we got a bad batch, see? Good, I like it. But what about after? We stick that yellow label straight back on. That way nobody gets a bad vaccine.
Yo, that is actually if that is actually what is happening, man. Oh, fuck.
Like you. Take the rest of the week off. I will have to, sir. I had quite a bad reaction to touching these vaccines. Better make sure none of these make it out into the market. Where's those goddamn yellow labels? In an email obtained by the committee, an outside consultant to Emergent wrote that the purpose of removing the tags appeared to have been to avoid drawing attention to the potentially problematic containers. Those yellow labels, won't they draw attention to them? Well, yeah, that's so that we don't actually accidentally release them into the market. Well, take those goddamn yellow labels off of there. House investigators wrote that despite this apparent attempt to impede oversight, the FDA still identified serious quality concerns, but granted Emergent some leniency. What, I suppose, the serious side of this, I mean, obviously there is a serious side to this, and the serious side of it is that if that's what we know about, what don't we know about? Do you imagine that we know the totality of potential problems and complexity? Or do you think it's possible that there are things we don't know about? We know that things are concealed. It is good that this has come out in the New York Times. It's good that there are processes, checks and balances that have revealed to us this information. Let's take that for what it is. But what it suggests is that during a climate where it weren't possible to have open discussions, where people were rallying to have Joe Rogan kicked off of the bloody airwaves because he was having open conversations about this stuff, where other people have been shut down, lost their jobs, livelihoods, like healthcare professionals who were reluctant to take vaccines were fired. I mean, it's still complicated, still can't travel without vaccines and stuff. Seems like there's room for a conversation, doesn't it? You tell me in the comments below. The FDA still identified serious quality concerns, but granted emergence some leniency.
Some leniency? Really? Just like a government. Just like a government. Oh, man.
Leniency is something we ought to afford one another when dealing with abstract aspects of culture, conversation, family life, cultural life. I mean, there are areas where leniency is a great thing. I'm not sure that the manufacture of vaccines in a pandemic is where I want to see leniency, which is a subjective term. How much leniency? 1%, 100%, 50%? Is there any reason why Emergent might be granted leniency that people that were cynical and skeptical about taking vaccines were certainly not afforded? They were ridiculed and condemned. Let's have a look if there is any reason. Today, close to 45% of the FDA budget comes from the user fees that companies pay when they apply for approval of a medical device or drug. Okay, so the FDA is in a financial partnership with the companies that it regulates. So it can't have an adversarial, condemnatory relationship with them. In late March...
What, you didn't know? Shit.
2021, Emergent notified the Department of Health and Human Services about the contaminated doses. That set off a series of events, which were probably bloody ridiculous, that led to the House investigation and culminated with the Biden administration terminating Emergent's vaccine production contract in November 2021. There's no evidence that there are any contaminated doses released to the public, and the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, you know, with the yellow label switcheroo, that's not got any problems as far as I know. US regulators on Thursday strictly limited who can receive Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine due to the ongoing risk of rare but serious blood clots. So that's another area, isn't it, about vaccine efficacy and the consequences of this pandemic that it's difficult to discuss. Why can't we be transparent about every area without wanting to generate hysteria or even wanting to be particularly cynical?
Like me. Because I am definitely fucking cynical about this bullshit. Like everyone else is, man. And like Ronan say, you want to know the truth, follow the money. You got to follow the money. I got to find the money. You got to follow the money. Money. Woo! Okay, all right. That's Kendall Rican, and that's later on the night. Oh yeah. Oh shit. What is wrong with me? I think my drink kicked in. Oh man. People bungling the manufacturing of production on this type of a serious thing. Who hired you? More importantly, who the fuck raised you? Oh, man. Dude. All right. One more fucking thing here. Shit. So, block the COVID restrictions. Oh, lifting border restrictions. But okay, so put the COVID restrictions on those that are coming into the border. Okay, I kind of get that because that's actually how it does spread from country to country. But there are other borders that you need to guard, like the same way that it was done when this shit first outbroke. I don't know, man. What I know is that I'm never getting that fucking jab. Hell to the no. And it's because of this jab that I'm pretty skeptical of any jab, whether it's from smallpox or tuberculosis or anything like that. Because what if they use that murder shit? I don't want that. And yo, oh man, are we okay? Okay. We could talk about this, I guess. Um, the retribution for lockdowns is said by Laura Ingram, one Laura Ingram from Fox News. And so here's what we'll do. We'll put that on. All right.
The science says our students can't go back to their normal routine. Therefore, I am suspending in-person learning in schools for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year.
We're going to have the schools remain closed for the rest of the year.
They must begin the school year this fall through distance learning.
Now, we have a tendency as humans and as Americans who live such fast-paced lives to want to move on too fast from crises. Now, what do I mean by that? Isn't the resilient approach of carrying on a good thing, Laura? A trait to be encouraged rather than crying over spilled milk? Well, when we're talking, though, about something as profoundly damaging as the government's pandemic lockdown mandates, the answer is yes and no. No, we shouldn't wallow in all the lingering miseries that we can't change. But yes, we need accountability to ensure that this never, ever happens again. And that means holding accountable anyone and any organization that recklessly pushed policies that were never grounded in science and certainly not permissible under our Constitution. Now, almost immediately when the lockdowns began on a federal level and then trickling into the states, the angle was a relentless force for protecting the vulnerable and also for reopening the government and especially the schools. There are devastating consequences of keeping children away from school for extended periods of time. From a medical and a common sense standpoint, the decision to put kids back in school should be a slam dunk yes. They don't do well at all without in-person schooling. The damage, incalculable. Academic decline, depression, isolation, suicide, addiction, abuse.
But I know Laura Ingram would agree with me. If you have, the alphabet soup mafia in these classrooms and grooming on the children and shit. So which one is it? I mean, it's because of this shit that homeschooling is now on the rise. I mean, do you keep them at home? I mean, shit. There's, of course, not only was the Roni shit going around for the fucking first 2 years of this goodness forsaken decade, and you also got this shit coming out, with Disney that we had talked about in the last show and the show before that. Should we even bring them back to public school? Should we really? But that's just coming from me on that one. I don't know, man. But this is what she's been saying ever since, this Roni shit started. So here we go.
Now, we tried to warn blue states that keeping the schools closed to in-person learning and shutting down the athletics, remember that, all the gyms, that was going to come back to bite them. And we were right. Politically speaking, the Virginia governor's race, that San Francisco school board wipeout of the Democrats, the DFW races earlier this week, all point to coming huge losses of pro-closure Democrats in November. And now, more than 2 years later, Democrats who advocated for the closures, social distance learning, all that stuff, they're seeing the fallout for themselves. 2 left-leaning media outlets published opinion pieces today admitting in stark terms the horrible and lingering effects of the lockdowns on our young people. Mary Catherine Ham, writing in CNN, noted that much of Blue America, which kept schools remote or hybrid for 2020, 2021, conducted an unprecedented social experiment on children, resorting to lengthy school closures for millions, a tactic not used during other national emergencies or previous pandemics. Well, now the results are in from the social experiment, and they're very, very bad, and the people who supported closures are finally ready to talk about it. She cited David Leonard's New York Times report that the main effects of hybrid and remote instruction are negative, implying that even at low poverty, high income schools, students fell behind growth expectations when their schools went remote or hybrid. But the consequences were even worse for lower income schools.
Yep.
And speaking of the times, an even more chilling examination of how this is now manifesting itself at colleges and universities. You got disengaged students, they're performing poorly. Many are not even showing up regularly and on time for in-person classes. When classes returned mainly in person in the fall of 2021, student performance didn't bounce back. The problem isn't only that students learn poorly online, it's also that when they go through a year or more of remote classes, they develop habits that harm their ability to learn offline too. Now, meanwhile, while this zombie phenomenon appeared at many of the elite top-tier schools that stayed closed to in-person, one small Catholic college in Texas was faring really well. The University of Dallas. Kids were back in school in the fall of 2020, and they were pretty much on track. And they were engaged, and they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, which is learning. It's pretty common sense. One professor there described their thinking this way. They balance the immediate health imperative with other imperatives that are no less important. The importance of mental health, the importance of friendship, the importance of physical proximity to other human beings for most of us. If only the teachers union captive politicians, if only they had possessed such wisdom.
Well, you don't know too much about that either. You don't know too much about that bullshit either. Let me go to the motherfucking comments. Oh my god. Oh, Susan doesn't want, my phone doesn't want me to hear the soap. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why they don't want you to hear the soap, because the soap is telling the truth, and I'm showing all the good shit. Speaking of telling all the truth and saying all the good shit, um, one more of these dumbass stories. I got a whole bunch of stories that I can get into. You know, the woes of the so-called Great Resignation. We got shit that's talking about a teacher getting Jordan Peterson because that teacher doesn't want to use pronouns and shit. We got how Democrats can win back the working class, which is not gonna fucking happen. Let me tell you. Yeah, no, that ain't what I meant to do. I meant to go like this because I'm gonna tell it on the mountain. You know what I'm saying? And now they're talking about canceling all student loan debt, and that's not going to happen either. They're going to kick the fucking can down the road. And when they finally decide to do it, it's only going to be a percentage of it, and it's going to be relegated to those that, pretty much pattering the bottoms of those that went out and got fucking useless ass degrees. Ugh. George Bush fucks up. Okay, I knew you, but I ain't forgot about that motherfucker. Biden actually makes George W. Bush look pretty good, but yeah, I haven't forgot about that sumbitch. Fucked around and made a damn gaff. He was the original. He was the OG gaff machine. But Biden took that crown, so that story's out. Um, Stop trying to wish death on Poots. Poots is gonna do what he does over there. He doesn't give a fuck. Oh man. And then speaking of that Ukraine shit, Mitch McTurtle goes over there, and he's now having complications with his junior senator, which is named Rand Paul, and over Mitch McTurtle's trip over to Ukraine, because he went to talk to Zelensky. He's one of the original war at all costs, warmongering pieces of shit. And what's the real, though, leftists? I mean, come on. You used to be against war. Why are we pro war, leftists? And by we, I mean you. See, y'all used to value the opinions of the Noam Chomskys, the Dennis Kuciniches, the Seymour Hirsches, and Glenn Greenwalds of the world. What happened? What happened? I thought Assange and Snowden were heroes. Where you at, Susie? Let's make YouTube great again. You know, I'm not for useless wars or wars to further an empire. We did this bullshit 100 years ago, people. God damn. And I see that you throttled my bass, Susie. Hello? You know, none of my videos that I upload can get over 50. Yeah, I mean, just a while ago, yeah, I did release the preview to Things That Make You Go. Speaking of which, we're going to get to that after my little, mini rant. But why are you throttling my bass, Susie? What's really going on? That Elon Musk story is getting you a little nervous? What's really going on? Yeah, I wish there would be an Elon type that is wanting to buy Alphabet and take it a new fucking direction, back to the right direction, and that's valuing free speech and opinions and shit. I mean, what the fuck, you know? Oh boy, you're not gonna prevent video manifestos. They're gonna still do that shit. Now, Twitch was pretty good about, killing that one guy's feed from his live shooting in every sense of the fucking word over in Buffalo. And then you got, hold on, so there's that. And then you got this one shit here on YouTube where the Brooklyn shooter, the black dude, his shit stayed up for probably that whole week, including the day of the damn shooting. I mean, what's really going on here? Oh man. I don't give any fucks about this shit. I mean, there's the switching up of the press secretaries. We now got a rug muncher. I don't care. There's that. There's the fucking employee woes, the pronouns we talked about a little bit. I don't give a shit. Um fuck it. Let me put this back on. Let me see what this shit is. I think I got something here. And then we're gonna get into them things that make you go over on Odyssey. I'm gonna go ahead and premiere that. But this other bullshit, man. Oh fuck. Let's just get this over with.
How Democrats can win back the working class. Opinion. It's no secret that the complexion of the Democratic Party has changed.
Wait. Let me get that back on.
96, a 42nd president was reelected by winning 1,117 rural counties. In what is an unimaginable feat for a Democrat today, Clinton captured what are now ruby red states like Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, and his home state of Arkansas.
And I'm going to tell you why. Some people still held on. Okay, the Dixiecrats became the Blue Dogs, which were, the conservative Democrats. And for the most part, the Southern strategy is a real thing. A lot of those that were Dixiecrats turned into Republicans. You know what I'm saying? Now, back to this story here.
Fast forward to 2016 and West Virginia had become the most pro-Trump state in the nation. The left has lost the white working class and is bleeding working class people of color at a rate no one expected. The situation is not quite as dire as Republicans would have you believe. Democrats still receive many working class votes, especially in blue counties. There's a good chance your grocery store cashier, your bus driver, and your maintenance worker is a person of color and a reliable Democratic voter if you live in a major metro area.
Yeah, and they're normies, forever listening to the party's line that they're feeding them, excuse me, listening to the party's line that they're feeding them, and still going into more goofy bullshit. That's why there's a new flip that came, But anyway, keep it going.
The media uses the term working class and blue collar to describe suburban and rural white voters, while Black and Latino working class voters are simply referred to by their racial or ethnic demographic, which denies them the recognition for their hard work and labor and skews the story of who is voting for which party. Still, the trend is unmistakable. The white working class is moving further right, and even some working class voters of color are moving away from Democrats over issues like vaccine mandates and pandemic school closures.
Yep.
How can the Democrats reverse this trend and recapture working class voters? By reversing the things that made them lose these voters to begin with. Those things are no mystery. Blue-collar Americans once had suitors from both parties who regularly fought for their votes and approval, but the decline of unionization made Democratic politics all but disappear in many blue-collar communities. White working-class voters began to feel that Democrats had abandoned them, or worse, looked down upon them. And a triumphant liberal narrative about the browning of America made blue-collar whites feel that they were losing ground to people of color. President Obama came to represent everything they resented. He was young, a person of color, highly educated, urban, a Democrat, well-traveled, and he held a seat of power and influence over their lives. And he represented policies they despised and felt were unfair to them, things like affirmative action. Trump was willing to say the quiet part out loud, questioning Obama's citizenship and academic credentials, absurd and racially biased claims, but ones that endeared him to working-class whites because he didn't fear backlash from the left. Trump was their fighter who would go toe-to-toe unapologetically with those they perceived to be their enemies. Trump was also the antithesis of Obama in his presentation. Obama gave moving, prepared speeches with flowery language straight out of the black church and civil rights tradition, while Trump gave entertaining stream-of-consciousness monologues laced with familiar applause lines and sprinkled with profanity. The audience felt he was leveling with them. It didn't matter that he was a billionaire Manhattan socialite who had far less in common with regular working people than Obama. Trump made them feel seen. Meanwhile, the Democratic establishment was dismissing these same people as racist deplorables, openly insulting rural Americans, which further alienated them and fed their victimization narrative. While the racism and nativism within the Trump movement is undeniable,
Not
to
really.
boil his success down to this one factor is overly simplistic. Consider today's Pennsylvania Senate primary. While David McCormick and Trump endorsed Mehmet Oz, two white men, Oz is Turkish American, but presents as white, competed in the heated primary. Kathy Barnett, a black woman whose campaign raised approximately 1/10 as much as her rivals, came up from the rear and ended up neck to neck with the two heavy hitters. She surged because she appeared less like a corporate-controlled politician and an elite than her opponents, which seems to have resonated with blue-collar white voters throughout the state. Is the Barnett Avenue still open to Democrats? There are no quick fixes for the Democrats' fractured relationship with blue-collar whites. What occurred over decades cannot be repaired overnight. But it begins with a realization that all working people have similar concerns. It is very possible to address specific racial justice issues and simultaneously address the issues of working people. This starts with showing up. Biden outperformed Hillary Clinton in the Midwest simply because he went there often. Democrats need to travel to rural America and shout from the rooftops about how Biden's infrastructure bill is benefiting farmers and rural Americans.
Cut that shit out. He still doesn't get it. The guy that wrote this fucking article still doesn't get it, man. Most of those that are, that used to be in the left had gotten out of that party, or more accurately, had been left by that party because they were elitist fucking snobs. And they kept on, mouthing off with this victimization narrative. Like, I'm oppressed because I'm a person of color narrative. When it really only shows their inferiority complex when not performing well. Or, let me translate, they're just plain fucking losers. All right, so anyway, let me get the hell out of this shit. Ain't no yo, and to top that all off, ain't no way for the fucking Democrats to get back the working class. Cause here, you don't for starters, the Republicans show up to midterms more so than Democrats do. The last time Democrats really had shown up, and it wasn't even really that much, was in '06 in opposition to the unjust wars out there in the Middle East. That was the only time they even turned up. And when they did turn up, I mean, they couldn't do much of anything. They were mealy mouth bitches, you know? God damn. So everybody's in here. What up, channel 1800? What up, y'all? So I'm gonna go ahead and start this things and make it go. All right, so guys, okay, let me get my Odyssey up over here. Let me get that motherfucker up here. And then yeah. So we got that motherfucker over there. I'm gonna get that channel back up here because I forgot to mute it. And then we're gonna show this premiere, release it to the people, so I can tune into MGTOW values or something. You know, get washed up, go and hit the night, and maybe Ken Del Rican might come on. I'll see what's up with that. Let's see here. What the fuck? What? Oh man, let me see what's on my. I ain't showing my live. I gotta get back in there. There we go. So there's my live. Yeah, okay. So we're good. And we're in the building over on Odyssey. And for those in YouTube, I'll go ahead and show you some of the preview. It's probably already over there. You know, the one that has Hunter Biden, a Hunter Biden clone at the convenience store. Check it out.
From Psyche Soap, the new controversial series that is too hot for YouTube. We've got little fails.
Come closer. Closer. Well, let's do that. Never mind, honey. There we go. Got it? Front door. Nope. It looks like it's not gonna work. What are you fucking?
And we've got big fails too. So prepare yourself mentally for the edge of your gaming chair. Presented by Psyche Soap, it's the things that make you go. Available on these alternative platforms, listed below in the description of this video.
So hopefully you all are over there on Odyssey. I'm gonna go ahead and end it here on YouTube. But before I do, what's going on? Yeah, fuckser. Yeah, laughing it up, yoking it. That's what I want to do. Laugh it up, yoke it up. Shit. So here we go. There we go. And so bye. What? Skipping comments. I'm so sorry, Bob. I didn't mean to skip. The reason why Odyssey is buffering is because I'm broadcasting on YouTube at the same time. So once I get out of Bluetooth, you might as well call it Blue Pill Tube, really. But once I get out of YouTube, then I can go on over here to Odyssey and it'll start showing well because that'll be the only thing going. For you all that are listening on to the Anchor podcast and those that are on the YouTube podcast right now. I'm going to go bye-bye. See you later. But guys, stick around for the Odyssey because I will be premiering things that make you go. In just a moment. So I'm still here, but I'm going to end the YouTube show and get us on over to the Odyssey Network here. All right. Peace.
Didn't I treat you right now? Didn't I do the best I could? Didn't I give you everything? I tried my best just to be a man.